So there is a storm that is coming right now, and it is the perfect storm, which is why in this video I titled it as the perfect storm. There's actually many reasons as to why I called it the perfect storm, and this video is going to be probably the most important video of the entire program, because this is really make or break. This is like what is, if you really take in, capitalize on, this can be the type of story that you get to tell your grandkids when, you know, you're sat on the porch with them and they're just asking you those questions of like, how did you do it? How were you able to create such wealth? How were you able to create such a life of abundance and legacy and all of these things? Like, we want to do what you did. How did you do it? And when you're there on that porch, this is when you are going to say to them that it was because of the perfect storm and how I maneuvered the perfect storm. Because it's one thing to be a part of the perfect storm, but in every story, there's always different characters. In every story, you have the victims, you have the damsel in distress, you have the hero, and you also have the villain. And so you want to start thinking about, in your story right now, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And this perfect storm that's happening is going to create a lot of characters who they are doing so unconsciously. Like, nobody becomes a hero by accident. You can become a victim by accident, but nobody becomes a hero by accident. Becoming a hero is a decision. It is a choice. You know, what we're creating with the Soul Network and this organization is a platform for heroes to emerge. Truly, that is my intention. That is the idea. And so this is why this is the most important video, most likely, of the entire program. And I want to make sure that you guys are present, you're listening, just like I am right now, and you're taking notes, because if you can implement everything that I share in this video, it's going to be completely game changer. And so I want to give you a little bit of a preface as to, you know, when I kind of started to have these inclinations that a perfect storm was coming. And it wasn't just something where it happened overnight like that, and I just had this realization that, oh, there's this perfect storm. The process of it occurring was definitely a gradual buildup of how I started to get these confirmations from different sources, where eventually I realized that, holy shit, I don't have much time left right now. And nobody does. My thoughts and my fear became that, what if I miss this thing? What if I prepare too late? What if I don't have enough time? Because here's the thing, if you give me 10 years, if you give me 15 years, like, yeah, that's fair enough. But if you give me 24 months, then that's a completely different story. And so I started to have these inclinations by surrounding myself with other people who had either been through perfect storms before, or they had been preparing for the next perfect storm and had been doing so for a certain period of time. And if you don't know already what the perfect storm represents, right? The perfect storm represents that window of opportunity, a window of opportunity where a lot of people are going to crack and burn. A lot of people are going to get really freaking hurt. And it's either you participate or you spectate. And the spectators tend to be the ones that just stood still and they still get hurt anyway. So really, you want to be somebody that's participating, but making sure that you're participating in a way where you're maneuvering the storm so that it's going to your advantage. So for me, it was like, yes, I was having these inclinations, these feelings, but then it became a case of, it was just confirmed by so many people who had credible results and people who had been through it before in the past, and everything was just making so much sense. So one of the things about perfect storm is that you have to know that in these perfect storms, lots of people are going to get hurt. They're going to get crushed. And so think about the last time that something of this magnitude happened. It was something like World War II. where people physically got hurt a lot. People were nuked, people were killed. There was like devastations in Hiroshima and things like this. It was almost the end of the world in a lot of ways. But economically, it was also a huge recession that happened, the Great Depression. And so what they're actually saying right now is that the storm that we're going into and the recession that we're going into is actually on a level even greater than the one that was before, back in the Great Depression. And so if you think about the significance of that, then that kind of shows you that we're about to head into something that is going to be a huge opportunity, but also there's going to be a lot of catastrophe at the same time. And so this is just giving you a little bit of an insight as to how you can not only prepare, but predict when these perfect storms are coming. Because by looking at history, you can predict what's going to happen in the future through using probabilities, because history repeats itself in patterns. And the more data that you have at your disposal, the more that you can see a pattern that starts to emerge. It's called the law of averages. And so you can see what happens on average in these recessions, in these perfect storms, to calculate what's going to happen in the future. So here's the thing about the perfect storm is that I want you to imagine what your perfect storm could really be like going forwards, because you have a few options. One of them is that you decide that, you know what, I'm going to ignore everything that Mo's saying right now. I'm going to ignore everything that I'm feeling within me, and they're saying that there is a perfect storm that's coming. And I'm just going to sit back and, just pretend that nothing's about to happen and that I'm immune from being hit by a huge tsunami. That's one of your options right now. And I would highly recommend not doing this, because if you have that ignorance to say that you will be immune from it, that's like the people back in World War II who were ignorant to the fact that they were going to get bombed, or that they were going to put in gas chambers and things like this. So what's actually going to happen is that most people are going to get hurt really badly when it comes to their financial situation. And when people get hurt really badly in their financial situation, this is also the time that it creates the biggest opportunity for people who have been most prepared. Because when you look at the previous recessions, this was when the most amount of millionaires had been created. They come out of these recessions and they come out of certain industries. So you have to start looking at which industries is it that capitalize through these perfect storms. And one of the major industries that capitalized through the previous perfect storm was the industry of network marketing. Because if you think about it, a lot of people are going to be seeking opportunity during that time where they don't have necessarily the same level of job security. And if you think about kind of where the world is transitioning right now, we are transitioning into a space where companies are wanting to integrate more technology and automation and AI so that they can replace the work that people are doing in their own jobs, which are a lot more manual, right? So if you think about that's how the entrepreneurs are starting to think, then you having a job, which is a very manual type of job, it's not going to have that same security. And what will end up happening is that you might end up getting laid off. Like over the last few months, we've seen some huge layoffs at companies with tens of thousands of people getting laid off. So your job could be under threat, and other people's jobs could be under threat temporarily, because then you'd have to like learn a different skill set, being able to integrate with the AI and things like that. And then from there, then you have to compete for a different job. So it pulls you back down to a certain level, and you get straight back to the bottom of the ladder. So here's the thing, is that a lot of people are going to have their jobs laid off. I've had so many people who came to me recently and said that I'm ready to start this business right now. I'm ready to start working with you guys right now, because they've been laid off from their jobs. And we've not even seen the worst of it yet. The worst of it is about to come. And so many people are going to be struggling when it comes to their financial situation, that they're going to be seeking opportunity, which is why an industry like network marketing thrives during this time, simply because everybody is looking to find an alternative source of income, one that is going to be future-proof. And that's the thing about network marketing as well, is that it's something that's very new and is still in its infancy stage. And so that means that there's not really the potential that's been truly seen with it, because it's only over the last 100 years that people have been running it. Network marketing was one of these industries. There are several other industries that pop off during recession times, but what you have to understand is that you gotta start to look at what the experts are saying about where you want to be from the position that you're at. And so what I would say is that there are probably some other industries where they also thrive during recessions, but they thrive for certain people. So they thrive for people who are already self-employed, people who are already business owners. For the people who are currently only earning paychecks and are employees, all of the industry experts agree about this, that the number one, and you're going to see some videos later on about this as well, so don't take it from me, don't take my advice, take what the experts are saying. All of the industry experts agree that the number one industry, the number one profession for you to get into, to transition from employee to entrepreneur, not only in the shortest space of time, but with the least amount of friction, the least amount of suffering, least amount of struggle, is the industry of network marketing. And all you have to do is go back and look at the numbers. Go back and look at the success stories. Go back and interview some of the professionals. Go back and look at what they're saying about what happens during a recession with network marketing. And so this is something that I've really been coming to terms with over the last few months. Is I'll be honest, I've had certain times during my entrepreneurship journey over the last 4 years, a little bit of what we call the shiny object syndrome. This is something that I've been dealing with myself internally, and been attracted to these shiny objects of, okay, there's this investment here, there's this cool thing that's popping off here, there's this thing. But then realizing that, hang on a sec, these are all just distractions for me, distracting my attention, when really I got to go all in to this one thing right here so that it can pop off majorly. And so I've been having my own internal battles that have been going on, but now fully firm in what I'm doing, I can look at how it's evolved and realize that one of the things that my mentor has said, who is, he's not just a 6 or 7 figure earner, this guy's an 8 to 9 figure earner, and has built an organization within network marketing around about 500 million in terms of the profits from his organization. So when he's been speaking about the reason as to why his organization has done so well, one of the reasons is because of recession. It's because of how things popped off previously and what happened to him before. But now he's like getting back into it because he realizes the opportunity that's about to come by being in the circles where they get exposed to a different type of information. Now, it's not just that it's a different type of information. What happens is information is bled out to the masses, but it's bled out last to the masses. It's first talked about in smaller groups and secret societies, and then it's all shared with the people who can get access to those secret societies by being a part of those networks, and then speaking with people in more power. And then from there, it is bled out to the masses. So the masses, once you've heard about it from there, that there's a recession coming, realize that you were the last person to hear about it. I didn't hear about the recession coming and the perfect storm from the media first. I knew that this was coming months in advance, but I'm not somebody who is connected with people from these secret societies. I'm somebody who is just doing my own research and being able to go to networking events and things like this, and network with my mentors, for example, who knew it months in advance. But think about how early this would have been known in advance. It had been years in advance that this thing has been in preparation. And so the analogy that I want you to start thinking about is the perfect storm, right? There's a movie about this by, I can't remember the director, but I remember that George Clooney acted in this movie where they had a literal tsunami that took out like this whole fisherman's boat. And the reason for why they took them out is, one, because they weren't in the right vehicle during the storm. So this is super important, guys, because when you are going into this perfect storm expecting that there's a huge opportunity that's going to come with it, if you are not in the right vehicle, then there's no way that you're going to be able to maneuver the storm. And it's not only about being in the right vehicle, but it's about being in the right vehicle at the right time. Because If you're too late for the wave, then you've missed the opportunity and it's going to crash and hit you. Really, you want to be behind the wave so that you're able to surf all the way to the shore. And not only that, but you want to be preparing in advance by surfing the smaller waves and the smaller windows of opportunity before the big one comes. And what that means is that you have everything set up in terms of your systems, in terms of your automation, in terms of your structure, in terms of your leadership. All of these parts of your business are already set up when the huge tsunami comes and you have an influx of demand from whatever it is the need. And this is the thing about what people don't necessarily understand about business, is that as much as you can be the best entrepreneur in the world, if you don't have desire channeled towards your product, because you can't create desire out of thin air. If you don't have desire channeled towards your product, nobody's going to want to buy, no matter how sexy the offer is. So it's important that that offer is matched with desire that's already there. And understand what happens in a perfect storm is that this desire goes up to a whole different level, because it goes from being something that's a nice to have to an urgent need. So think about what is going to happen in terms of desire for people in having something like a side hustle and having something like, an extra source of income when they have their jobs that are laid off. That is going to go from a nice to have to an urgent need. It's like the Maslow's hierarchy, for example. Everybody has dropped a level lower on the Maslow's hierarchy because they are no longer going to have that same level of safety, security, and they're going to move and drop down into survival, into that state of fear. Now, this isn't saying that I'm excited for people to hop into a state of fear and things like that. What I'm excited about for you and for me is to be able to help all these people, is to provide them with an opportunity to have them wake up to the reality, because this is the reality that people aren't necessarily earning enough money. They're not able to have the lifestyle that they really want. And it is sad for me that it requires a perfect storm to hit them, to fuck them up, for them to wake up and realize and smell the roses that this is the time to go all in and to take their business to a whole different level. So there are going to be a few minority of people who will be on the right side of this wave that are going to become multimillionaires from this. And you could be one of those people watching this right now. But there's also going to be a majority of people who come, they're on the other side of the perfect storm. The storm hits them, we rescue them, and those people from being rescued, they get to replace their income from their jobs. They get to be able to have a different source of income. They might have, 5-6 figure months, but they're not really going to become multimillionaires over the next 3, 4, 5 years. And so you have to ask yourself the question, who do you want to become? Do you want to become someone who is the rescuer or the rescued? And that's something that's really down to you. So this is why I want to share today about this, the perfect storm that's coming. It is super, super exciting when you really start to connect with what's truly going on and you develop this level of intuition, because that's really what it requires. It requires that you have this sixth sense. The best way I can describe it is that when a tsunami actually hits, the only species that are endangered, this is what somebody told me the other day, the only species that's endangered is human beings. Human beings are the only species that are endangered, and the reason why is because animals have an innate connection with being able to tell through their intuition, through that sixth sense, when a tsunami is coming. They're connected to nature. They're tuned in. So they're already gone days beforehand, before the tsunami hits. And human beings are still there. And then they get hit and it's like, what happened here? We didn't see this coming, because they're so stuck in the physical instead of being connected to the spiritual and the non-physical. And so this is why it's important that you tap into your intuition at this time as well. Start, looking to implement the keys to spiritual connection and meditating and removing distractions and things like this. But yeah, if you can combine all of that, combine the logic with also the emotion, and realize that right now, from what I'm telling you, we are going into a perfect storm, then you can capitalize and become one of the rescuers instead of the rescued. And that's what I want for as many people as possible right now. I'm here to help, I'm here to serve. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. We're going to go into the next part of this as well, where we go through the key of intellect in more detail for what that dream business could look like, how you can discern what is a dream business, what isn't, and same with an investment. And then also after that, I would highly recommend getting yourself straight into the key of commitment, because it is time to go all in. It is time to go all in with this perfect storm that's approaching. And you don't have a lot of time left, I promise.